right, welcome back to another episode. You're making me laugh.
Oh, that was a good thing. I was not expecting the intro music like that.
I got
bonus.
all sorts of fun stuff today. So
love it.
Welcome back to another episode of On the Delo. I have my wife. No, I'm kidding. I was supposed to have my wife on earlier, but she bailed on me today.
She did not. Why?
Well, I don't want to get into
Okay.
it. But it's all good stuff. She had to take care of some business, so I'm very happy she's taking care of that.
All right.
She will be on next Friday.
Okay.
So, anyways, I thought maybe you would bump into her, but you did bump into my son.
I did.
Which
Hi.
is now a client of yours.
Yeah.
Or a patient. What do you call them? Clients or patients?
Patients. Yeah.
Patients. Do you have to have patience when you deal with patients?
I mean, of course, but it's as you know, it's a very different experience with what I do.
Yeah.
It's very relationship based, and with the type of medicine I do, it's the right people tend to make it into the door, right? Because they're people wanting to be preventative and proactive and really wanting to learn about their health. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for everybody listening, you are a doctor. You are my doctor, which I'm very excited about.
Yes.
I believe I've been going to you for at least 3 years.
yeah, something like that.
Or at least to your practice. And then you were finally nice enough to take me on as your own.
Oh, that's right. You
had
were seeing
Gabby.
a PA before. Yeah.
That is right. But you've been so great to my wife and everybody that we've brought over there. And I'm excited to have you on to just talk about the business of business. I don't really want to, quote unquote, bore people with health stuff because most people don't give a crap, unless they're really into it. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
It's like, okay.
Totally.
So I want to start from your beginnings. Like when you were a little girl, were you just like, oh, I'm gonna be a doctor?
I mean, I kind of did like medicine really early on. My mom has this one little picture of me as I think I was like 2 or 3 and, getting the little doctor set for Christmas kind of a thing.
Really?
So just kind of fascinated with it. But then, when I was in high school, if you asked me, I love biology. Like I wanted to be a marine biologist in high school. I think everyone wants to be a marine biologist at some point. But,
Yeah.
but I loved it. I loved, all the sea creatures and just the ecology. All of it was awesome. But then as I kind of took more science classes going forward, I was like, okay, well, maybe I want to go to get pre-med out of the way in college. And I started doing that and taking those courses. And then in my first year of college, I was like, oh, there's like a lot of other like liberal arts and things that you've got to take. And I really loved the medicine stuff. So let me back up even before then. When I was 17 years old, one of my really good friends was volunteering on an ambulance, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you come on a local ambulance?" Where in upstate New York, in small towns, I have to back it up. I have to back it up because there's in small towns there are some paid ambulance companies, but a lot of the medical care comes from volunteer ambulance companies, and he was volunteering for one of those. And he's like, "Oh, why don't you just come along for a ride along?" And I loved it. I was 17 years old, loved it. And so that kind of started my little quest for like, ooh, okay. And so I took an EMT course, and then kind of even throughout my college years, I was volunteering on an ambulance until, I got my EMT, and then I actually worked as one of my part-time jobs. I had a bunch of part-time jobs in college, was, actually for a paid ambulance service while I was going to respiratory therapy school. And so that's kind of how instead of going pre-med, I was like, you know what? I really like all the medical stuff. Let me do something that, God forbid, if I never went to medical school, I could, have a career out of something.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting an associate's in respiratory care and a bachelor's in cardiorespiratory science, and loved it. So that's when I figured out, like during my early college years with all the ambulance volunteering and stuff, that's where I figured out I had this like kind of aptitude for medical stuff. And so I just loved it. It was awesome. Like it never seemed like work. I just absolutely was fascinated by it all.
Based on other people in your profession and people that you, let's just say, have befriended and is that the case with a lot of them? You either have that, you have that notion to want to be that sort of person at an early age? Because it's not something I assume like you're 30, you're like, I'm going to be a doctor.
Actually, I think it's all over the board. I have some friends who, let's say they're, like one of them, like one of my really close friends, his, father was a doctor. And so then they feel kind of like, not pushed, but like, they're very much exposed to it, and it's a good career, and so on and so forth. So there's some people that are, they know they don't dislike it, they like it, but it's not their like super passion maybe.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good career. There's a lot of people that have jobs that are just like like they're not leaving their job because they just really like it and it pays the bills, but they're not in love with it. It's not their passion. Does that make sense?
No, it
so
does make sense.
I've seen both ends of it.
Interesting. So you're a New Yorker?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, not New York City, New York. I say every time I say New York, everyone assumes New York City, but no. Hills, trees, green grass, rolling, lakes, rivers, woods.
They have that in New York?
You got to go about 4 hours north
The other way?
of New York City, north and west, and but it's a relatively small town compared to here.
Speaking of my wife, that's where we got married. Actually, it was in Central Park.
Yeah.
It was absolutely
That's amazing.
Crazy. Beautiful, beautiful place. Okay, so what brought you out to Arizona eventually?
So after I finished, so I went to, obviously medical school, internship, residency, fellowship, took my first job out here in Arizona. And honestly, it was a decision. It was like, hey, you know what? I've never lived anywhere south or west. And I had a few really good friends from residency. I did residency at Cleveland Clinic, and there was a few of my close friends that took a job out here. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to interview all across the country. Let me see where I like. And of course, I came here in February. Which is like the absolute, right? Like,
perfect. Yeah.
Gorgeous time of the year. And then, and so I was like, you know what? I was single at the time. If this doesn't work out, I can always move. And that's how I came here in 2009.
2009. Mm-hmm. Wow. So you're single, you're doing all this stuff. And then it was 2015 is when you started your own practice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I came here to Phoenix, and I was working as an anesthesiologist. My specialty was pediatric cardiac anesthesiology. Okay. And so, lots of hours, lots of nights, weekends, call, intense stuff, life-saving stuff a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And to make a very long story short, I burnt out from doing that. That's what made me, kind of go down a different career path. So I was always a healthy person, but I started having, the typical burnout symptoms. I wasn't sleeping. I was having some stomach issues. Like all these things started going on. And, when you go to the regular doctor, I'm sorry, you're not sleeping. What do you think they offered me, right?
The drug.
Yeah, and I was like, that just seemed so foreign to me. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to know why. So my quest for wanting to know why started kind of right then. And I went to a very good primary care doctor who actually spent a decent amount of time with me and stuff, but the answer was still essentially take these pills. And so I needed to find a different answer for myself.
I think what ended up happening from what I'm hearing is that your want and need to be in people's lives from a relationship standpoint was really what was going to fulfill you.
Yeah.
And so how do you do that in a career that is now, unfortunately, traditionally like number in, number out, right? Yeah. And when you look at what you call as functional medicine, why don't you explain what that is so people understand?
Yeah. So functional medicine is all about finding and treating the root causes, the reasons why people have their symptoms and their diseases, right? So instead of, like I just explained in traditional medicine, oh, you can't sleep. Okay, well, here's a prescription to help you sleep. Right. We start talking about, okay, well, why can't you sleep? Is it because you have undiagnosed sleep apnea, for example? Is it because you have super high stress levels? Is it because you don't have good sleep hygiene? Your face is in front of a screen scrolling right before bed, and so on and so forth, right? Yeah. So there's all these. So we want to figure out why, when and if at all possible, and work on those reasons, because it usually isn't just going to help with that one symptom. It's going to help with a bunch of other symptoms that are going on in your life.
Yeah, the body is a very tricky and complicated thing, as we all know. I mean, I had my my own quest with being fit as a kid, and then getting into alcohol through not even my music journey, but through the beginning of my insurance journey, because that's a sales-esque, sort of thing. So, as a doctor, when you see an avatar of a person that is unhealthy, what are usually the top three things that they are not doing or doing that are making them that way?
Oh, it's lifestyle, right? So it's nutrition, it's sleep, it's exercise. Those are the top three. But if I was to round out what I call the top five for all the lifestyle factors, right? We always talk about nutrition, sleep, exercise and movement, stress management, toxin reduction. Those five things are what I say is create about 80% of health. They're the foundations. Yeah. And then the other 20% or so is kind of what's going on in your own body's biochemistry. And that's why we do all the advanced laboratory testing that we do to kind of do a deeper dive and figure out even more possible root causes.
Oh, I know. I've been through all of it.
I know you do. I do it all too.
having to take a dump inside of a thing and having it sent back. You crap too much in this thing now. It's. I mean, people.
That
don't
is
even,
not what your report said, by the way. But okay.
Right. Well. the thing is like, people that aren't used to that or don't know, I think like, there's a lot of stuff that is, I don't even want to call it alternative because it shouldn't be alternative. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's just a lot of stuff that you can actually do if you are told and have the education to do to either rid or to prevent, ailing life going forward.
I think there's a lot of burnout going on in the traditional insurance industry too. I think a lot of doctors, they recognize some of these things and they would like to spend more time with you if they could. It's just they're in a system that doesn't allow them to do so. And then education wise in regular medical school, there's not really a focus on the lifestyle factors, right? So there's just a little different.
So talking about a system and talking about, say, your niche, like, okay, everybody knows that listens to this that I do insurance. My biggest niche is for hospitality. It's bar-restaurant-insurance.com. Now, you are a doctor with a niche, albeit it's functional medicine, albeit any and everybody that, that is a human can come to you if they're looking to get better in that sort of sense. But there's still a niche in the sense that, so you don't take insurance.
Correct.
Right? So that kind of eliminates the people that don't really, you know what I'm saying? That you want these people that want to invest in themselves. It's almost like coaching in essence.
Totally. And it's because of the time factor, right? So, for example, a new patient appointment's 90 minutes, but before that 90-minute appointment, I have read all of those intake forms that I ask people to fill out. Yeah. I'm like fully prepared before I sit down in front of you for those 90 minutes. And then there's like a little bit of work afterwards, like putting together a plan. And so it's a very time-intensive type of medicine, which means I can't obviously see a ton of people during the day. And what does, traditional insurance reimburse on? They reimburse on not quality, but really more towards quantity.
How many, right? Yeah. So you're not getting a chart like 2 minutes before you walk in and scanning over it.
Absolutely not. I prepare an entire week before a patient's visits, and that's for every patient visit. That's just how I do it.
You're probably spending average of hours as opposed to minutes on each patient.
Absolutely.
And therefore, it just depends on what you want out of life. And, I always say it like, if I have to drive a Honda Accord yet pay, 3 times as much for a doctor that's going to spend 3 times as much time with me to make sure I can perform better, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, you have a high value. You place a high value on health. Yeah.
Do you find that just in the world in general right now that people don't really place as much, not everybody, obviously, not your patients, but do you feel that most people don't really place that value on it until something goes wrong?
I think that's a very common pathway how people make it into my door, right? And like everything's going pretty well, and then all of a sudden they're told, oh my gosh, you have to have this procedure, or you have to go on these medications, or you have this diagnosis, and now they maybe are resistant to doing some of those things, and they really want to, find a pathway to become healthier so they don't have to rely on those things.
Yeah. And I would assume also as a business model, like you've had other doctors in there and you've had to, obviously either pull back or do things different or this and that, all dependent on how you want to scale your business and what that looks like. Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, it is a business. Yeah. It's a caring business, but you have to figure out how you keep your doors open and pay people and also have enough time for you so you're not overly stressed out. I assume Is Friday your day off or do you?
No. If you want to know my real truth, there really aren't
no days.
Quote, an entire day off of the week. It just doesn't happen.
Do you enjoy that?
I figured out over the years, because I've been doing this over a decade now, and so I kind of figured out how to do work and life together.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not, quote, seeing patients. And that's a big thing, I think, in medicine, too. They're like, oh, you're not working today. And I was like, no, I'm not seeing patients today, but plenty of work's getting done. Yeah. Like I have to prepare, like I'm also so I'm the business owner, the practice manager, too, right? So besides all of my patient responsibilities, I have all the practice responsibilities, too. And so as you know from having a business, like there's a lot of things that, go on that aren't, let's say, client-facing, because you have clients, right?
Well, and you also have to be very selective on who you take in. So you're the one that's looking, I'm making assumptions, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the one that's looking at these intake forms to see if, Sally Joe is going to be a good fit for you to spend hours of time on, let alone, because, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of like a personal trainer, and I know Jeremy Scott, a good friend of mine who does personal training, will totally agree to this. You don't want people that are going to come in and just assume that you're going to heal them. they've got to want to do the work.
Yes.
And I bet you can tell a lot of that from the intake forms of what you get and who you take on.
Absolutely. So like there's that. That's one of the reasons why I have the extensive intake forms.
Yeah.
And you're right. You said the right thing, which is we want to make sure it's a good fit. You know, we want people that want to have a collaborative team effort, right? It's not my responsibility to heal you. I will help you, but it's a we thing. It's a team. I like to tell patients it's a team sport. Like we will always talk about what's going on together and decide like what the right thing is to do for you, because I could have 10 patients with the same diagnosis, but we're not doing the exact same 10 protocols on everybody because it might not be the right thing for that each individual person.
Yeah. Let's talk about scalability. Obviously, supplements are a big one. And when we talk about supplements, we're not talking about like hocus pocus stuff. Like my wife and I buy a shit ton of stuff from you and we love it. You know, so we're talking like zinc and magnesium and stuff that you private label. So that's a whole business within itself, correct?
Yeah.
And you have to monitor and like,
yeah. It's a separate kind of a separate business entity.
Yeah.
You know, all on its own. But yeah, it's I would say it's hard with this like niche in functional medicine because it's so highly personalized. This is I like to say it's how I have it. It's a concierge style.
Yeah.
And so it makes it hard to quote scale because people are coming to see me. So they're not going to they're not going to be like, oh, hey, I've been seeing you for, 5 years, like, or 2 years or a year or even 6 months. Hey, now see my PA because I've developed a relationship with them. So, and that's one of the other little niche challenges in just concierge medicine, period. Right. And then so you've got it. And then on top of that, layer in functional medicine, and there aren't a lot of docs that are certified in functional medicine that can actually deliver the care.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So where do you go from here? Like what's your business growth goals if you have any right now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do have some other doctors that work part-time in the practice and I have a great PA. And so like that's all going really well. But yeah, it's at one point I had thought, okay, well, let me open up to have multiple locations and multiple. And then actually after getting my one location fully up and going, I was like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
I also want to not burn out, like you were saying, because I did burn out for my previous career, and I don't, want to burn out.
Been there, done that, right?
Yeah.
So you and I think have a lot of similarities into where we're at in life and our career, and so I just wrote a book called Essentialism. I don't know if you've read that book. Amazing. And it's about doing everything that's essential in your life, like in the moment, right? And so I got so burnt out after a while of like having email on my phone, and every time it binged, I'd had to check it and blah, blah, blah. So I just went ahead and I did a whole podcast on this, but in a nutshell, what I did is I took all those stresses out of my life because I realized I was living for everybody else.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this agency going, oh my God, how many more clients could we take? Maybe I could have an office over here, this and that. And then I realized I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'm good just being able to podcast and just do things that bring me joy. And I know you have things that bring you joy. So, like, what are some of those things that you enjoy to do outside of the office?
Yeah. Well, I know I rock climb.
Yeah.
That's one of my joys. I did it this morning.
Dude. And for those of you not watching, she's what, 4 foot? How tall?
Give me credit. I'm 5'1", okay?
Okay. She's 4'11.5". She's very very athletically small, right? But is that? I mean, is climbing easy for you? Has it been hard?
I mean, no. It was humiliating the first time I climbed. So I've been climbing and you should come climbing sometime.
I will. I'll come with you.
I know the owner, Chris, the owner of Black Rock.
Yeah. I just saw Ileana the other day. Actually.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So no, it was. I'll never forget. It was. I've been climbing a little over 4 years, and one of my friends. It was like one of my husband's best friends. It was his wife. We were all at like a New Year's Eve dinner or whatever, and she's like, "Hey, you should come rock climbing with me sometime." And I'm like, "Cool." Like I like fun athletic stuff. I was like doing CrossFit at the time and all that. And then so I thought like, oh, like how hard can it be? Ha ha ha. Yeah. OMG. Like it was seriously humiliating for someone who's in like was in reasonably good shape at the time. It's like it's like no other workout kind of.
What's the hardest part about it? Is it the grip? Is it the back strength, the arm strength, the just holding on for dear life?
Well, when you first start, hopefully no one dies rock climbing in a gym. That would be awful.
There's mats below people. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, and there's two types of climbing, right? There's bouldering, which
Yeah.
You're Chris has a at Black Rock Bouldering. So you boulder means you aren't tied into a rope or a harness. There's no safety. You just climb to the top, but the walls are about, let's call it 15 feet-ish or so high. And then, and there's mats. You can still, hurt yourself if you fall weird, right?
Right.
But that's bouldering. And then rope climbing is like there's gyms locally, like Alta, for example, has like their walls are about, I think, 55 or so feet.
Oh, wow.
And you're climbing on a rope and someone's belaying you. So there's a safety. If you fall off the wall, you're gonna fall, but you're dangling in the air by your harness, and look at your face.
Please don't hurt yourself. I need you.
I've been doing this for 4+ years. Yeah, it's all good. But no, so to answer your question, I love it because it's a combination of everything. Yes, you have to have some upper body strength. You have to have grip strength. You have to have finger strength, and then you have to have really good core strength. You have to also be looking at the climb and understanding. It's the hand's angled this way, so I need to figure out how to put my hand there and my body positioning so I don't come off the wall. There's a lot of coordination involved, balance, flexibility, all of that.
What's cool is I'm sure it's like a meditation because you're not up there thinking about, Joe's stool sample that you just looked at an hour ago.
Cannot think about anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cannot. Anyway, it's so fun. So I do that and weightlift as my main workouts, and then the dogs get walked twice a day.
Yeah, we're going to put your Instagram. Like, your Instagram's great. So that's another thing of the business. When you say running the business, like, you're in your car a lot just doing these self-filming things of just promoting what it is, the
car, the office, like at home. And then,
that's great.
What your earlier comment totally stands about no one really cares about the medical stuff because if you look at the engagement.
The algorithms, right.
If I post a picture of my dog or of me doing a hard workout or whatever, more likes, more comments than me talking about a video of, let's say, perimenopause or about your gut health or whatever the case may be. It's fascinating.
Yeah. My wife's the only one watching the perimenopause video. I ain't watched that. I'm watching you cling, 220 over your head.
Oh, that's so funny.
That is great. Okay, so what are some of your non-negotiables as far as personally, that you do every day that you have to get done or your day is going to go sideways?
Yeah. I mean, it's like my husband and I do have a pretty good, solid routine. So cool. First thing after we, wake up and get vertical, essentially hydrate really well, dogs get out for a walk before it gets too hot, right? Nice, so and I mean, we're walking ourselves too, so it's we'll get about a 20-minute walk. So your eyes are seeing sunlight, you're outside, you're checking all those boxes in addition to exercising the dogs, right?
Yep.
And so then, come back in, get breakfast, kind of go in and, get the day started. And it just depends. The day is different for me, depends if I'm, patient facing or not.
Yeah.
If I'm patient facing, that's it. I'm in the computer. I actually get about an hour to hour and a half work done before I quote go to work to see patients, and then I'm seeing patients, and then coming home and finishing up the work or whatever, eating dinner, kind of winding down and all that kind of stuff. If it's a non-patient facing day, like today is Friday, right? So I did a bunch of computer work. I was like, okay, I got to end here because I want to get my workout in. And so I went and, did my rock climbing and, picked up my food from Eat Clean Phoenix.
Oh,
Have you ever had food from them?
I know where they're at, yes.
Yeah. Food prep because my husband and I both, work a fair amount. And so to have a healthy dinner in the fridge that we just have to heat up is super helpful on weeknights. So those are some of that would be an example of my, and then I'm here with you, right? And then I'll go finish some errands and then go home and finish some computer work and so on. And so it's just, I've kind of smushed work and life together.
God, we're identical in that sense. You do watch a little bit of Netflix, right?
Definitely. I definitely have downtime.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely downtime. You have to. Yeah.
When's the last time you just went and got shit logged at a bar? So I'm about to turn 49, and it was probably at my 40th birthday. Me too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's me too.
No, legit. Yeah.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I know. Something happens when you turn 40. There's switch.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's so funny. Because I know my patients so well. Most of my patients, I would say, I love most of my patients. I would totally talk to you guys out. We would have a great time, the whole thing. But so I had this conversation 3 times this past week about the alcohol.
Funny.
I had this realization with them. I was like, listen, they're the patient was kind of saying that she, can't even really have a couple drinks anymore because she will wake up and think, she wakes up kind of like she has a college hangover. And I was like, yeah, I totally know.
Right.
I'm like, now here's the thing of it. Could you train your liver back into that state? Sure. Is it maybe not a good idea to do that if you're out of the habit? Probably not. Like, there's no quote, there's no real health benefits to drinking any amount of alcohol on a regular basis. But I had that conversation a few times this week about, lack of alcohol tolerance, because I think about it too sometimes. It's like, yeah, would it be nice to be able to have a glass of wine or a cocktail or something at dinner? And I am just like the patient I described. If I do that, like, I will feel terrible the next day because my liver is like, what is this foreign toxic substance you're giving me right now? So
it's kind of, well, now I overload on sugar because sugar and alcohol are the same thing. So like on a Saturday, I'll have a cheat day every now and then. And I just feel like hell. Then on Sunday, so I'll go to like Metcon and, do all the athletic stuff to get it out of me. And it just, look, our train ride is getting shorter and shorter as we get older. There's so much more that we need to get done before. And going back to what you're saying, how your work and your life is all together in one, it's kind of the same with me. I get calls all the time because I have a rather juggernaut boutique business here, and I get calls all the time from merger and acquisitions and this and that. And are you ready to sell? I'm like, dude, I'm 51. I don't know what else I would do. Like, I really don't. Like, I'm so enjoying myself now to where I have my non-negotiables of same thing: walking the dogs, getting sunlight, meditation, sleep. Oh, sleep is king. I go to bed at 8 and I wake up at 3 or 4. Yeah, it's perfect. And well, you know my charts. Yeah. So come on, how many 51-year-olds are
no, seriously?
Like this? Yeah, I got to be top like whatever percent.
Where's your InBody? We should show them your InBody. No, have you done that before?
Is that thing legit?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's go ahead.
Well, okay, but besides body fat, what is the most important factor in that InBody? Is your skeletal muscle mass or?
Literally the first thing when I get a patient's InBody, I go right to the top upper corner and I was like, how's the muscle status? That's literally the first thing I look at. And because there's a lot of patients that they need to gain muscle mass. They just don't know it. And because there are some, like that's the skinny fat crowd that we talk about, right? Where it's like, hey, they like might look really good, but you look at what they're made of and it's like, oh, actually they need to lose, 10 pounds of fat and gain 10 pounds of muscle. So they don't need to lose any quote weight. They need to change what they're made of, right? They need to change their body composition tremendously. Muscle mass, super important. Body fat, actually, obviously, and then the visceral fat, the InBody gives that visceral fat score, that dangerous inflammatory fat between the organs, and that's the belly, the big bellies, right. And so those are the things those are the top things I look at. And then the report has a lot of other granular stuff on it about right arm, left leg, left leg, trunk, all that stuff.
I think for us as we get older, I know for me, I want to try and keep maintaining the muscle. I don't know how much more I'm going to be able to put on, but to maintain, because you're losing every year. Correct. Regardless. So if you can even maintain, you're gaining.
Totally.
That makes sense,
totally.
Right? And, I got so fixated on the 7% body fat thing. I'm like, oh my God, if I can just live a life and be at, 12, I'm still way lean.
You're still in a way top of the 1%, the 0.1%, exactly.
Yeah, and so I think people get really fixated. Type A, business people that you see a lot of, may just get fixated on numbers and doing things and going over the top. It kind of like this whole 10,000 steps things. Yeah. Yes, it's great to go walk and do this and that. But again, another thing I had gotten fixated. I know a lot of people get if I don't get 10,000 steps, I'm going to be chubby. It's like, dude.
Yeah. No, right, exactly. It's funny because I think the 10,000 just kind of came out of the ether. Yeah. And because the studies the more recent studies are basically the theme of the more recent studies on that are the more movement, the better. Period, kind of thing. Like
stretch, mobility, all those. You were just foam rolling in my office.
Any type of movement. It does not have to be walking. Exactly. Yeah.
No, that's hilarious. Okay. Is there, before we get into rapid fire questions, is there, how do I say, is there something for you that you would quantify as the meaning of life? I know it's a very generic and open question, but what does life mean for you? And there's no wrong answer.
Wow. That's a super deep question.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The first words that came to my mind as soon as you said that were joy and love. Those are the two things that kind of came right to my mind. And you're right. It's where I think we are on the same page with, as you get older, you're like, hey, life is short because things start happening. You see other people around you, things start happening and whatnot. What can I do to, make life really good for your loved ones, right? Like yourself, your friends, your family, the people that you care about. Like that's the real stuff, so to speak.
Well, look, you're dealing with, I asked this question because of who you are and the people that you deal with, and you're dealing with real people, real lives, real families, real decisions that people have to make together that can, they can be life or death. Yeah. And so you emotionally are invested in a lot of these people's lives and their families. And I know over your time, being in business since 15, you're 10 years into this, people have died that, you know what I'm saying? They get old, and now you don't have Bill as a client anymore, and it's got to be hard on you. It's got to take out a little bit.
Oh no, definitely, for sure. And it's funny that you say that because, like, knock on wood, there hasn't been that many, and so like there's literally like, but it's, as you know, like it's going to happen. I mean, I have a couple of really cute patients in their 90s, and I'm like, every year it's like, let's
keep it together. Another one.
They're doing great.
You alive.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. All right. Well, cool. I'm going to have you back, and we'll have some more fun. But I want to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Keeping with the format here. Would you rather go to the dentist or have a mammogram?
The dentist. I like my hygienist. She's so cute.
Cornflakes or Frosted Flakes?
Cheerios.
Okay. That's fine.
I mean, I don't eat either ever again, but when I was a kid, it was Cheerios.
Right.
Yeah.
Kids don't eat that crap. We don't advocate that. Dances with Wolves or Avatar?
Ooh, probably Dances with Wolves.
Yeah. They're both 8 hours long.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Drink or drive?
Drive.
Exactly. I was trying to I didn't say and. I said or.
Yeah.
HGTV or National Geographic?
National Geographic.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Metallica or Madonna?
Madonna. Love the hell out of Madonna. Although my husband just went to see Metallica in Nashville last weekend.
Oh, dude, he should have invited me. I wanted down there. I worked for both bands, actually, or both people. I worked for Madonna's record label. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Yeah, 100%. You have 2 dogs, right?
4.
I was off by 2. Wow. Okay, great. Antarctica or the Congo?
Ooh, Congo.
Okay. Are you a big traveler?
I have traveled some, but what's funny, it's a running joke between my husband and I because he's traveled so much more than me because he did not go to medical school, internship, residency, fellowship, all that stuff. He had he had a real life before.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so, he's a lot more traveled than I am. But yeah, we'll get out of town. No.
Well, that's why you watch National Geographic, so you can travel. That's what I tell my wife. I just did a travel podcast and I hate to travel. Aliens or giants?
Giants.
Okay. And then what would you say would be one guilty pleasure you want to share?
Ooh, I do like a cheat day just like you.
Okay.
If you ask me what my favorite cheat foods are, it would be popcorn, pizza, and ice cream, like literally in that order.
Salty, hearty, sweet.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. So it's like a movie. Go get a big. Kim and I are getting a pizza tomorrow. We're going to Pizzeria Virtue.
Oh.
So good.
Yeah.
Have you had that?
I haven't. Yeah. I've heard though. It's on the list. It's definitely
we'll
on the
have
list.
to take you guys. Okay, cool. And then what would you like to promote as far as like obviously your practice? We'll have all that stuff, but you also have the online stuff that you do. And
yeah. So I do have an online program. It's called 7 Weeks to Your Healthiest Self. It's essentially walking people through how to do a 30-day paleo reset with the proper way to do food reintroduction so you can figure out if you have food sensitivities. But throughout the program are all the lifestyle factors that we just talked about, right? Nutrition, sleep, exercise and movement, stress management, toxin reduction. There's a little flavor of that in there too.
Sweet. Excellent. Yay. Yeah. I've been so excited. I've been waiting all year to get you on here. So thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was great.
Yeah. I'll see you in June with my blood test in hand, and we'll have some fun, and I'll get you some more clients or patients. They're my clients. Your patients. So we'll go there. Anyways, everybody, thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. Please follow Dr. Parke on Instagram. We'll have all of her information. Oh, by the way, I know you've never been told this, but you do look like Danica. Every time I see you, I'm
Thank you.
It's a little race car driver.
I've gotten that. So much so that when I first moved here, I had someone following me around the gym I was at thinking I was her. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. We all have our doppelganger, right?
We do.
People have said I look like Jesus. So, hey, what are you going to do?
Awesome.
Well, when I had long hair, or the lead singer of Creed, Scott Stapp, with arms wide open.
Oh, hey,
See?
that's nice.
I got the nose and everything. All right, I'm just blabbering. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. Subscribe, like, 5-star, all those good things. And until next time, peace out.